What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another review. And it's What If episode 9. A bit late, but there was a whole lot of things going on last week, so yeah, better late than ever. So this episode was, but before we start saying that, spoilers, okay? Just remember spoilers, because I'm gonna go into details for the episode as always. So this episode was killer. This was like the the best episode of the season in many ways, because this was like the ending to a 8 film arc, but here it's like 8 episodes. Before this is some, it felt like more like the first 3 phases of Marvel, but in a condensed form. So the Watcher finally breaks his oath, as we saw in the last episode at the end, where he's talking to Strange, and all the characters from the previous episodes, whether their own stories were relevant or not, good or not, he literally goes and be like, yep, you guys are chosen. So he gets Parito or T'Challa as Star-Lord, and like everyone, and Peggy Carter. It's a full-on, and then he names them, and it's like, yep, Guardians of the Multiverse. And I was like, what? Imagine like watching this in a live action, if they ever bring these characters into a live action form or somewhere or other. It'll be awesome. But it was just great to see, because it's still part of the greater MCU, and you just watching that happening, it just brings a smile to your face, and you're like, they did it. They did it. They're like, they actually did this show with other stories, and they actually made another kind of Avengers team, but like more of a multiverse team. Like, wow, they did that. The characters, obviously, there's not much there in the form of like, growth or so, because we've seen that in all of the previous episodes. This was like the culmination of all of that, and it was just action. It was just pure action. If you're an anime fan, it kind of reminded me of the fight. If you've ever watched the first Dragon Ball Z Broly movie, I know it's some of you probably not, but if you have, and then when they all go against Broly and he's just way too powerful, this kind of reminded me of that in a way, because it was just like all these 6, 7 people going against Ultron. My count is probably wrong, but you get the idea, and it just spectacular visual, spectacular action, just going at it. Doctor Strange is just using all his abilities. Thor is going berserk. Everybody's just kicking it in, and it's Ultron is just going absolutely ham. Now, the Killmonger character, again, his own story, I didn't like that how they really didn't, variate from what the other stories were for other characters. Like Killmonger and character still stayed intact. It was not like, T'Challa became Star-Lord, it was like totally different. They still made Killmonger as like the same character with the same kind of arc, just with different things shown from different movies and all, and put it all in one episode. But now here though, it kind of makes sense why they kept it, because I guess that was the plan obviously all along. Because here though, he ends up betraying the team. He basically, at the end, when they defeat Ultron, you see that moment, and it's building up. You see these small moments here and there in the episode, and you're like, oh, he's definitely gonna go the other side. He's gonna betray everyone, and he ends up trying to steal the stones, and they actually end up installing Walla. That's how the episode ends, with like, them beating Ultron. They actually end up getting that virus into Ultron's body, and Walla's in there, and obviously Walla's Walla. He's gonna betray. You kind of know that's gonna happen, and they're like, okay, that was the whole plan. And it's just these, like, the ending is like just one after the other. Things are happening. It's like, oh, the Watcher's plan was all along basically not to really destroy the stone. It's like just to get the stones out of Ultron, and he knew that Killmonger is gonna basically betray, and it's this moment is gonna happen. So what actually ends up happening is Doctor Strange, I guess what from what I see, he's out of his own multiverse thing, but then he goes back and he's like, I'm gonna stay there and I'm gonna take this other multiverse ball that he creates, from what I understand, and it's just freaking Ultron with the virus of Zola and Killmonger trying to get the Infinity Stones for themselves and just stuck in there. And just stinks in there forever as a small freaking multiverse ball. And he's like, yep, I'll look over this because it's just me in my verse. So I'm bored anyways. I'll look over this. I was like, okay, well, that's great. And then Zola Watcher ends up actually uh, not just, he broke his oath for one thing. He actually broke his oath in another way also, is he actually takes Natasha's character in this multiverse, and she does not go back to her place because her place is literally, she's the only human left. So she actually goes to the one where Avengers all died, and it was just Nick Fury, and Loki became like the president and like the ruler of Earth, and they're trying to defeat Loki, and he actually ends up dropping her into that verse. So I was like, okay, this is a whole lot of things going on and affecting timelines. How is it going to actually affect the larger timeline in the MCU? Because as we know, things have happened. Now, if you've watched Loki, I'm like, okay, it that makes sense because now the timelines, there's so many of those. So Watchers doing what he just did that occur at the same time at the end of Loki when all these timelines opened up? So like those questions kind of came up because that's a serious thing where you're taking a character from a different verse and literally putting her into this whole other worse. And then what about the other words? Just empty, everything's done there, so there's just nobody's there. Like, so those questions, let's see how they answer them. Obviously, this, as I said, the show is connected to the larger MCU universe, so the multiverse. So let's see how the show goes into this. Now, what I'm guessing, and it's just a guess, I think this show is gonna connect to more like the season 2, obviously, but I don't think they'll bring it into the live action. It still will be part of the multiverse because those are the characters that we see from the movies, but it's never gonna go there. It's gonna stick to like its own thing within the multiverse of the MCU, but has its own story. Because I know the first episode of the next season is related to Gamora having all the Infinity Stones. So let's see how that goes. Because Gamora here, that was again pretty cool. She was like, she already defeated Thanos, and it was just her and Iron Man like was there, like Tony Stark. He's there on their own adventure, and I was like, okay, these are cool things that are happening and stories that I actually want to see, big variations of these characters going forward into the next season. Also, a big surprise in mid credits, and I did not know until like my subs told me that you have to go back and watch it, is Peggy Carter's universe and the Natasha in that part in Captain America 2 Winter Soldier. When they attack the ship, they actually end up finding in that ship Steve Rogers with this thing, and they actually don't say Steve Rogers, but they're like, oh, there's the Iron Man suit and somebody's in there. So I'm obviously they're saying that Steve Rogers. They don't end up saying that, but you're like, okay, well, I guess he came back somehow because he went to that thing, right? And we knew like obviously he's not dead because he went to that thing. So or something else happened, the universe collapsed or something or whatsoever. I have so many questions, so obviously I'm waiting for that to evolve into the next series and really go into a whole new story. So there's a lot of things happen, but it was all action, and that's why it's like there's little story in a way, but there's a lot of story in a way that the action, and it concluded a lot of the characters and their stories, but at the same time, it also opened up possibilities for what's coming ahead. So in story wise, you know, obviously there was not much, but it made sense. Just like Endgame didn't need to have a story, it was the conclusion to everything that we saw before it. So this was a perfect thing. This is what I wanted to watch, is just them going against Ultron and a full-on action-filled episode. That's what I got. So I give this one a 9.5 out of 10. It was a solid, I mean a smashing end to the season, and I can't wait for what's going to happen in the next one. So that's kind of a take on this. Yeah, what did you all think about this one? Leave a comment below. Let me know. And other than that, I want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for all the support. If you like these more kind of casual reviews, there are a whole lot others on the channel. Please go have a watch. And yeah, take it easy. Take care. And I'll catch you all soon. Until then, ta-ta. Take care.